My wife massaged while I was on stage accepting a $250,000 award for a startup she told me would fail. I read her message. Don't let success change you. I'm with someone who knew you'd make it. My CEO looked over and said, "Did she just confess mid-speech?" I smiled, held up my ring, and said, "And I'm officially divorced too." The room erupted as she walked in holding his hand. I always hated the silence of hotel ballrooms. That weird moment right before you speak into the mic, when it feels like everyone's breathing in sync, waiting for you to mess up or blow them away. I wasn't used to this kind of stage. Most of my days were spent hunched over a laptop, not under spotlights in front of venture capitalists sipping cocktails that cost more than my weekly groceries used to. But there I was, in a suit that barely fit, clutching the mic with one sweaty hand and my phone in the other. And that's when she texted me. "Don't let success change you. I'm with someone who knew you'd make it." I read it. Then I read it again. I looked up. The lights blurred everything for a second, and then my CEO leaned in, whispering like it was a punchline. Did she just confess mid-speech? And all I could do was laugh. Not a happy laugh, not really. More like a "what the hell just happened to my life" laugh. I held up my wedding ring to the crowd and said, into the mic, without thinking, "And I guess I'm officially divorced too." The crowd exploded. Applause, gasps, a few confused laughs. But then the doors opened behind them, and there she was. Brielle, in a black dress I'd never seen before. Her hair pinned up like it was some kind of gala. And next to her, arm locked like they were heading into a damn honeymoon suite, was Trevor, my cousin. But I'll get to that. Let me rewind a bit. My name's Colby. I'm 41, born and raised in Milwaukee. I come from the kind of background where if you had two parents in the house, you were a unicorn. My mom raised me and my older brother Neil mostly on her own after dad bailed when I was 12. She worked doubles at the local diner and still managed to get us to school every day. I was never the golden child. Neil was the smooth talker, the athlete. I was the kid who fixed the neighbor's computers for $20 and a can of Coke. Eventually turned that into an IT degree, then a string of forgettable jobs in cybersecurity. That's where this all started. During the pandemic, I was freelancing. Remote gigs mostly. Helping old school businesses, bakeries, barbershops, tiny law offices, untangle themselves from outdated systems or patch up after ransomware attacks. I noticed something. None of these businesses had affordable protection. They were all sitting ducks. No budget for security and no clue what they were doing. So I started sketching an idea. It wasn't even meant to be a business at first, just a side project. I called it Lockstep, a simple cybersecurity solution for small businesses. No frills, no jargon, just protection for people who couldn't afford a full IT department. I didn't tell Brielle about it for the first few weeks. I knew what she'd say, and sure enough, when I finally did, her response was exactly what I expected. A cybersecurity app? Colby, come on. That's your plan now. I've got 6 shops testing it already. They're loving it. Are they paying you? Not yet, but they will. I'm still refining it. She rolled her eyes. You're almost 40. When are you going to stop playing pretend entrepreneur? That conversation set the tone for the next year. Brielle and I had been married almost 9 years by that point. We met through friends at a 4th of July barbecue. She was loud, confident, magnetic. Worked in PR, the kind of person who could spin a fender bender into a heartwarming headline. She liked that I was quiet, steady. Said I balanced her out. But balance eventually turned into boredom. We tried for kids. 2 rounds of IVF and 1 miscarriage later, we stopped trying. Stopped talking about it. The distance between us didn't start with Lockstep, but it widened the gap. I'd be up until 2 a.m. debugging code, and she'd be asleep or scrolling Instagram in bed. I started celebrating my wins alone. When I got my first paying client, a dentist in Sheboygan, I popped open a bottle of cheap champagne by myself. Brielle was at a friend's bachelorette party. I texted her a photo of the invoice. She never replied. Things changed when Lockstep got accepted into a local startup accelerator. It came with seed money, office space, mentorship. Suddenly, I had a real team. Benji was my first hire. A quiet genius who wore the same hoodie every day and never spoke unless you asked him something. Then came Priya, sharp as hell, organized, and honest enough to call out my dumb ideas. Oscar joined as our CFO. Mid-50s, wore suits to Zoom meetings, and had a weird obsession with goat cheese. We worked out of a cramped co-working space above a falafel shop. It smelled like hummus and ambition. Brielle hated it. You're throwing everything into this thing, Colby. And for what? What if it fails? What if it doesn't? She looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. Then came the Pitchforge event. $250,000 in funding. 1 winner. The day of the event, I told Brielle I wanted her there. I can't. I've got a client dinner. Can't you reschedule? She shook her head. This is important. I didn't argue. Just nodded and left. The venue was a fancy downtown hotel. We practiced the pitch a dozen times in the green room. I was nervous, but we were ready. When they called our name as the winner, I couldn't believe it. My vision, my crazy little app, it was happening. I walked up to the stage, blinking under the lights, and that's when her message came through. Don't let success change you. I'm with someone who knew you'd make it. I read it. My heart dropped. I thought it was a joke at first. Some weird motivational thing. Then I saw her walk in. With him. Trevor. My cousin. We weren't close, but still, he was family. The kind of guy who always had a new get-rich-quick scheme. He once tried to sell me Bitcoin advice in 2018. I told him to pound sand. I hadn't seen him in over a year. And there he was, holding my wife's hand. I didn't go home that night. Benji offered his couch. We drank a bottle of whiskey and watched Die Hard on mute. The next morning, Brielle was gone. She moved out within 48 hours. No explanation, no apology. Just a manila envelope with divorce papers on the kitchen counter and a post-it note that read, "I'm sorry it had to end like this." Neil found out first, then Mom, then everyone else. The betrayal hit harder than I expected. Not just the hating, but the fact that she waited until the moment I finally wanted to tell me. Like my success was her cue to exit. Trevor had the gall to show up at our grandmother's birthday the next week, grinning like he'd landed a promotion. He pulled me aside, all fake sympathy. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, man. But we connected. She needed someone. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Then I hope you're ready to clean up the mess she made." And that's where I'll leave it for now. Because that wasn't the end. Not even close. There's a lot more to this story. What happened at the family reunion, how Lockstep blew up, and the unexpected way I got the last word. The week after the award felt like I'd stepped into someone else's life. The same face in the mirror, same worn flannel shirt draped over the same chair, but everything around me had shifted. It wasn't just the award. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the quiet. The stillness that settles in after something explodes. Benji had let me crash on his couch, but by the third night, I needed space. So I went home, walked into my house. There was a strange absence of her in every corner. The vanity that used to be a battlefield of makeup was wiped clean. Her favorite mug, the one that said "Girl Boss in Heels," was gone from the sink. Even her scent, vanilla and something citrusy, had vanished. She took the dog too. I didn't even notice at first. Just caught myself calling for Bramble that night. Only to remember she was probably curled up in their new apartment. I sat on the edge of the bed and scrolled through our last texts. Nothing profound. No final goodbye. The last real message from her had been a photo of a charcuterie board at some rooftop bar with the caption, "Guess who's fancy tonight?" That was 2 days before Pitchfork. Oscar, our CFO, called me the next morning. "You all right?" "I'm fine," I lied. "You're not. But you will be. You're just a guy who got burned. Trust me, fire can cleanse." "Is that a Buddhist thing or a goat cheese metaphor?" He laughed. "Both." I showed up at the office that afternoon, hair unbrushed, hoodie half-zipped, and looking like I'd wrestled with my car's seatbelt and lost. Priya took one look at me and slid over a fresh cup of coffee. "No judgment," she said. "But maybe shower?" I cracked half a smile. "Noted." We got back to work. Because we had to. Suddenly, people were calling. Investors. Journalists. A podcaster from the West Coast who wanted me on his show to talk about disrupting the security sector. The story of the mid-pitch divorce line went viral. Someone had filmed it and posted it to TikTok. Within days, it had over 2 million views. Comments ranged from "this guy's a legend" to "that woman really left her man when he made it." Unreal. I couldn't scroll through them for more than 10 minutes without feeling sick. Then Neil called. "You good, little bro?" Define good. Still breathing? Unfortunately. There was a long pause. "Mom's asking about Brielle. What should I tell her?" "Tell her the truth. She ran off with Trevor." Another pause. "Jesus. Yeah. You want me to come by?" "No. I need to sit with this." Neil sighed into the phone. "You don't have to be a hero, Kolb. This SCKs. It should SCK. I know. But I didn't. Not really. I was still too numb." A week later, I saw them again. It was at my Aunt Maureen's house, her 60th birthday party. I showed up late, half hoping they'd be gone. No such luck. Trevor was standing by the barbecue, flipping burgers like he hadn't imploded my marriage. Brielle was on the deck with a glass of wine, laughing at something Aunt Dee was saying. Like nothing had happened. Like we were just old friends at a reunion. Mom walked over as soon as I stepped into the backyard. "Colby," she whispered, grabbing my arm. "You don't have to stay." "I'm fine," I said, even though my knuckles were already white around the gift bag I brought. Trevor spotted me first. "Hey man." I stared at him. "Don't." "What?" "Don't hey man me." He scratched the back of his neck, smirking like he was about to apologize but couldn't quite commit to it. "I didn't plan any of this," he said. "We just connected." I let out a laugh, sharp, joyless. "Yeah, you really connected. In my house, I'm guessing." His face dropped for a second, and that's when Brielle walked over. "Colby," she said softly, like she was addressing a wounded animal. "Don't pretend you care," I snapped. Her eyes darted around the yard. People were watching. "I do care," she said quieter now. "It wasn't meant to happen like this." "How was it meant to happen, Brielle?" "You wait until I finally get a win, then send me a breakup text mid-speech." That wasn't a breakup text. Oh, so it was a congratulations. Colby, no, I said, raising my hand. Save it. I turned around, walked back to my car, and left the gift on the front porch. Screw Aunt Maureen. She'd understand. That night, I got drunk. Not just tipsy. Drunk. The kind where you stare at your own reflection in the microwave door while heating frozen lasagna at 1 a.m. I opened my email. 40 unread messages. People offering to buy Lockstep, others wanting in. A journalist asking if I'd be willing to talk about overcoming personal tragedy in the face of professional triumph. I clicked delete. Then I wrote an email to Brielle. I didn't send it, just wrote it and left it in drafts. You didn't break me. You just made space. And I plan on filling it with something real. I stared at that for a long time. Then I shut the laptop and went to sleep on the couch, even though the bed was mine now. A month passed. Then 2. Lockstep grew faster than I could keep up. We hired 2 more developers. Moved into a bigger space. Oscar got us a meeting with a firm in New York who wanted to throw $1 million into the pot. But every time I got a win, there was this bitter taste in my mouth. Like success was something I had to apologize for. Like I'd traded love for ambition, even though love had already left the building. One night, after a long day, I went to a quiet bar across from our new office. Just wanted to sit, think, and that's where I met Sienna. But I'll save that part for later. There's still more to unravel. The real fallout. The tension that boiled over. The unexpected turn that none of us saw coming. But we're not there yet. There's a strange kind of loneliness that comes when you finally get what you've been working toward, only to realize there's no one left to share it with. That's where I was. Lockstep was on fire, in a good way. Every week brought new traction. New businesses signing on. Hell, we even got featured in a regional tech mag. Priya framed the article and hung it in the office kitchen. The headline was, "The Divorce That Launched a Cyber Empire." I told her to take it down. But deep down, I didn't hate the attention. Not because of the success, but because, for once, people were looking at me. Not Trevor. Not Brielle. Not the polished image she loved to present of us, curated in Instagram filters and holiday cards. Me, Colby, the guy who'd been told he was too safe, too average, not a risk taker. The guy who, apparently, had enough drive to lose everything and still win. But even wins felt hollow some days. I'd lie in bed at night, staring at the ceiling fan, replaying every moment I didn't catch. The missed signs, the too long showers, the phone turned face down, the nights she worked late, but came home smelling like bourbon and a cologne I didn't wear. There were so many signs. About 2.5 months after the Pitchforge event, my mom called. "You should come to dinner. I've got a lot going on." You always have a lot going on. That's not an excuse. You've been avoiding the family. I haven't been avoiding them. I've been reprioritizing. She clicked her tongue. "Don't use startup language with me, Colby." I sighed. "Fine. When?" "Sunday." And Colby, "Yeah. Trevor won't be there." That stopped me. "You're sure?" I told him not to come. "What about Brielle?" A pause. I didn't invite her. Sunday dinner felt like stepping into a memory you didn't want anymore. The same creaky screen door. Same faint smell of garlic and pine sol. Same couch where Brielle and I used to sit and make fun of Neil's choice in socks. Neil was already there, nursing a beer and poking at the cheese platter. "You look better," he said, not quite making eye contact. "Define better." "You don't look like you've been punched in the soul anymore." High praise. We sat in silence for a bit, the only sound being our mom clattering in the kitchen and the dog's claws ticking on the linoleum. "I meant to call," Neil said eventually. "I know. I just didn't know what to say." "I get it." Another beat of silence. "I punched him, you know," he said suddenly. "Trevor. At Grandma's house. After you left. Took him around the side of the house and socked him in the jaw." I looked up. "Seriously?" He nodded. "Didn't break anything. But he cried." I laughed. Really laughed. The first real one in months. "Thanks," I said. He raised his beer. Family looks out for each other. Even when we SCK at it. A few days later, I ran into Brielle. Total accident. I was at the post office, of all places, trying to mail a set of contracts to a law firm that refused to go digital. I turned around, and there she was. She froze. I froze. Then she stepped forward. "Hi." I nodded. "Hey." She looked different. Not in a dramatic way. Just smaller. Tired, maybe. Wearing flats instead of heels. Hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. She used to spend an hour on her makeup before leaving the house. Now, there was none. "How are you?" she asked. "I'm good." "You look different." "Yeah," I said. "Success changes people, right?" She flinched. "I deserve that." "Probably." She looked around awkwardly, then back at me. "I didn't know how to tell you. I should have told you the truth sooner." "You didn't tell me at all," I said. "You let a text do the work." I was scared. Of what? Me? Or being seen as the villain? Both. We stood in that stale, fluorescent-lit room, surrounded by coupon mailers and packing peanuts, like we were in a bad play. "I miss Bramble," I said. "She misses you too. You could have let me see her." "I didn't know how." You didn't know how to let me see my dog? Her eyes filled, but I didn't feel pity. Not anymore. I hope it works out, I said finally. With you and Trevor. She swallowed. It's not. It's not what I thought it would be. I'm not surprised. Another pause. If I ever don't, I cut in. Just don't. And I walked away. Sometime after that, I finally took Oscar's advice and went to a networking event in Chicago. Nothing fancy. Just a rooftop mixer for tech founders and venture folks. That's where I met Sienna. Not like in the movies. There were no slow-motion hair tosses or sparks flying across the room. She was standing by the shrimp tray, looking mildly annoyed at the man trying to explain blockchain to her like it was his personal invention. I stepped in. Hey, sorry, your Uber's here, I said, nodding toward the exit. She caught on immediately. Thank God. The guy walked away, muttering about women in tech not getting it. She turned to me, smiling. Thanks. He was starting to give me a TED talk with no audience. I shrugged. He was quoting Elon. You needed rescue. She laughed. Sienna. Colby. We shook hands. I'm not in tech, by the way, she said. I run a nonprofit. Even better. What kind? Workforce reentry for formerly incarcerated women. I blinked. Wow. That's not what I expected. She smiled again, but it wasn't smug. Just real. Grounded. Most people expect HR or marketing. No. I meant, that's amazing. She shrugged. It pays terribly, but it feels like something that matters. We stood there talking for an hour. Didn't even realize the rooftop had emptied until a server came around asking if we needed to validate parking. When I got home, I had no idea if I'd ever see her again. But the next day, she sent a message through LinkedIn. Still rescuing people from TED Talk bros? Coffee sometime. And that was the beginning of something different. Something calmer. But we'll get to that later. There's still more to unpack. Still wounds not fully healed. Still moments I haven't told you about, like what happened the day Trevor came looking for me. Sienna texting you good on random Tuesday mornings. Me dropping by her office with iced coffee because she'd mentioned once she hated hot drinks, even in winter. No declarations. No labels. Just a slow, quiet gravity pulling us toward each other. She was different. Not just from Brielle, different from most people I knew. She didn't ask what I did until our fourth coffee, and even then, she waved it off when I mentioned lockstep. I figured it was something in tech, she said. You've got that I haven't slept in 3 days vibe. I slept last night. 2 hours on your couch doesn't count. I laughed. Fair. We didn't talk about the divorce. Not at first. I think she sensed it was still raw. Instead, we talked about her work. How hard it was to get funding for programs nobody wanted to think about. She'd taken punches from donors, city officials, board members who wanted to turn her nonprofit into a watered-down after-school club. People love redemption stories, she told me once. They just don't want to be a part of them. I remember staring at her across a cracked Formica table in a diner at 10 p.m., thinking, this woman has been through some SHD too. And I like that. Then Trevor showed up. Not physically, not at first. But his name started popping up. Neil texted me. Trevor's at it again. Just sent out invites for his financial coaching seminar. Thought you'd want to know. Then an email from a client we'd pitched to months ago. Hey Colby, I met with a guy claiming to be your cousin. Said he used to consult for Lockstep? I called Neil. What the hell is he doing? Pimping your name for clout, apparently. He didn't do anything for Lockstep. He's never even seen the code. I know that. You know that. But some people don't ask questions when they hear the word co-founder. I hung up and tried not to put my fist through the drywall. 2 days later, I ran into him. By chance. I was picking up printer paper from a Staples, and he was at the self-checkout holding a phone to his ear, barking something about limited offers and crypto coaching. When he saw me, he grinned like we were childhood pals at a reunion. Hey Colb, been a while. I stared at him. What are you doing here? Shopping, he said. Relax. I mean, what are you doing using my name to sell your pyramid schemes? He smirked. It's not a scheme. I'm helping people get financially literate. No, you're helping yourself ride the coattails of the one guy in the family who actually built something. Whoa, he said, hands up. You think I'm doing this to screw with you? I think you've been doing that since we were 10. He laughed. You always took SHD so personal, man. I dated your ex-wife. Big deal. You think I haven't been CHA'd on before? You think this is about you being CHA'd on? I said, stepping closer. This is about you walking into my life like you belong there, like you earned it. I didn't steal her, man. You didn't deserve her. He looked at me, face twitching slightly. You're still angry. Yeah, I said, I am. Then I turned and left. Didn't wait for a comeback. But it didn't end there. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from a lawyer. Trevor was THRing to sue for defamation. Apparently, someone had posted a rant about him in the comments of a Lockstep social media post. Called him a parasite cousin who steals wives and pretends to code. He claimed I was behind it. Oscar called me into the office with the letter in hand. I know it's BS, he said, but it's still a THR act. These vultures file garbage lawsuits hoping you'll settle to make them go away. I'm not settling. I didn't think you would. Priya chimed in. Can we just call it what it is? He's scared. You're climbing. He's circling the drain. Still, the stress chewed at me. I started waking up at 3 a.m. again. Started skipping meals, zoning out in meetings. Sienna noticed. You've been twitchier than usual, she said during one of our walks. What's up? Family drama. Still about the cousin? I nodded. I've got one like that, she said. Owes half the family money. Got my mom into a car lease she couldn't afford. Why do they always target the people closest to them? Because they think they can. I stopped walking. He's trying to ruin what I built. Then don't let him. Easier said than done. She looked at me for a long second. Want to come to one of our workshops? What? Like volunteer? Yeah. Might give you some perspective. Most of these women had someone like Trevor in their lives too. So I did. It was a Tuesday evening, freezing rain outside, and the community center smelled like wet coats and instant coffee. The women ranged from 20 to 60. Some had tattoos climbing up their necks. Others looked like someone's grandmother. All of them had stories. Sienna introduced me as Colby, our guest who's way smarter than he looks. I got laughs. They weren't shy. They asked me everything. How'd you start your company? You rich now? Did your ex see a chat? I nodded. One woman, Denise, said, my ex took our rent money and bought a motorcycle, then got arrested for driving it drunk. I stabbed him with a fork. Not proud, but also not sorry. Laughter. But underneath it, truth. These women weren't broken. They'd just been burned. Like me. Later, Sienna and I stood outside the center, her breath forming little clouds. Thanks for coming. I needed it. Yeah. I've been thinking like a victim. But I'm not. I'm just reshuffling the deck. You still planning revenge? I looked at her. I said honestly. But now I think I just want him to watch me win. That's enough. She smiled. That's the best kind. But peace didn't last. Because 2 days later, Brielle called. I stared at the phone for a full minute before answering. Colby, she said, breathless, like she'd been crying. I need to talk to you. I'm busy. It's about Trevor. I closed my eyes. What now? He's not who I thought he was. No kidding. He told me he was investing in something legit. But now people are knocking on our door. He said your name was on it too. I sat down. What did he do? I don't know, she whispered. But I think it's bad. And I think he's dragging you into it. My pulse quickened. I need to see the paperwork, I said. All of it. Now. I'll send it. And Brielle? Yeah. If he forged anything with my name on it. I'm not just calling my lawyer. I know. Trevor had forged my signature. I knew it before I even opened the scanned docs Brielle sent me. But seeing it in black and white, my name scribbled on a joint investment contract for something called Rapid Chain Ventures LLC, was like being S-curve punched by my past. He'd listed me as a silent partner, used the lockstep name in his pitch deck, even dragged in a few small-time investors by promising insider tech access from his founder cousin. It was beyond slimy. It was fraud. I forwarded everything to Oscar. 10 minutes later, he was calling me, audibly fuming. This is identity theft, Colby. He's impersonating an officer of your company. This is jail time level stupid. I don't want him in jail, I said. I want him exposed. Okay, he replied, voice settling into his legal tone. Then let's do this the right way. We moved fast. Oscar had a contact at a local business journal. A savvy, ruthless columnist named Camille who loved nothing more than taking down scammers posing as visionaries. I met her at a cafe the next day. Tell me everything, she said, pen tapping her notebook. And don't hold back. I laid it out. The fake partnership, the stolen branding, the twisted story of Trevor using my success as bait. She raised an eyebrow. And your ex-wife was involved? She claims she didn't know. Honestly, I believe her. She nodded. You want him canceled? Or you want him crushed? I want him irrelevant. Camille grinned. That I can do. The article dropped on a Monday morning. Front page of the business section, from tech royalty to conman. The truth about Trevor Carr. It was a masterpiece. She backed everything up with documents we provided, emails, investor pitches, the forged contract. She even got quotes from one of Trevor's duped investors, a woman who'd sunk $12,000 into Rapid Chain because she believed in the lockstep name. The fallout was immediate. His website vanished. His LinkedIn went dark. Investors started emailing me, furious, demanding refunds and answers. I directed every single one to Camille's article and a freshly filed cease and desist letter from our attorney. Within a week, Trevor was radioactive. Brielle called again. He blames me, she said quietly. Did you know he was doing this? No, but I didn't ask either. That's your answer. I'm sorry, Colby. I sighed. I know. Do you hate me? No, I said honestly. But I stopped loving you a long time ago. There was a long pause on her end. I hope you're happy. I am, I said. I really am. And I meant it. With Trevor out of the picture and the S-scene swirling behind him, something in me finally unclenched. I slept better, ate better, laughed easier. I kept seeing Sienna. Not every day, not in a whirlwind, rom-com montage kind of way, but real, grounded. She came over and helped me paint the office accent wall. I helped her build new desks for her nonprofit's new space. One Saturday, we got brunch and ended up talking about our exes for 3 straight hours. She never once asked me to explain myself. She just listened. One night, we were sitting on her porch, drinking tea and watching the streetlights flicker. "You ever wonder why it all happened like it did?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "A lot. And I think some people come into your life to wreck things. So you'll finally fix them right." She smiled. "I like that." "Yeah, me too." A few months later, I got a message request on LinkedIn from someone named Marisol, a startup founder out of Austin. "Hey Colby, I read your story and wanted to thank you. I almost brought Trevor on as a partner last year. Your article probably saved my company." I smiled. And just like that, the loop closed. Trevor didn't need to go to jail. He didn't need to suffer. He just needed to be seen for who he really was. And me? I needed to stop living for someone else's version of success. Now, I build things that matter. I sit on the advisory board of Sienna's nonprofit. We've started quietly seeing each other. No labels, just trust. I reconnected with Neil. I take Bramble on weekends. Brielle and I don't talk much, but she never fought me on that. Lockstep is doing well. We're not unicorn level, but we're profitable. Honest. Strong. Kind of like me. So yeah, I stood on a stage once, reading a betrayal in the middle of my biggest professional win. But now I stand on something better. My own 2 feet. And they're not going anywhere.